So my grandfather, Sam Kreiger, was really an incredible man. He was exceedingly kind and compassionate. He cared about all the people around him. He had infinite capacity to really care about all sorts of people. He really touched so many people in his life.
It's very appropriate that they're honoring the memory of my parents at the same dinner where they're honoring the memory of Mr. Kreiger and honoring Mrs. Kreiger. Because, like my parents, the Kreigers are not only builders and leaders of this community, but they were also mentors to so many of us. Oftentimes in business, but even more often in leadership and commitment, dedication and work ethic for the benefit of the community.
There was never lots of noise about the way in which the Kreigers supported so many causes. Amongst them, and perhaps the closest to Sam and Bertie, was Yeshivat Kerem. He never missed a phone call from Eli Klein. He never missed a visit, and he was always excited to visit the yeshiva when he was in Israel.
We were introduced to Rav Goldwirth through Mr. Eli Klein, who was a close friend of my husband. We had a very close, tight relationship with Rav Goldwirth and the Rebbetzin. Whenever they came to Los Angeles, they stayed with us. And when we came to Israel, we stayed with them. And we were almost like family. And that was a relationship over 30 years.
There never seemed to be enough time for all the mesmerizing and fascinating tales we were regaled with by both the Rosh Yeshiva and the Rabbanit.
Sam and Bertie, they believed and were invested in the vision of Kerem, an institution that was going to take some of the best and brightest and finest young men and develop them, not only as leaders of the country, but as thinking Jews, as Jews who would not only engage, whether it was combat units, become professional officers, but after their time defending the Jewish homeland and the Jewish people, would ultimately be the leaders of the country.
I can't remember anyone who ever came asking my grandfather for money who was turned away. Actually, this dinner for Kerem B'Yavneh, I think, is the first affair that I ever remember him being an honoree at, alive or since he passed away, because my grandfather always disdained that kind of kavod. He really preferred doing things behind the scenes because he felt it was the right thing to do.
My father considered Eli a very cherished friend, and just as everyone else who has been privileged to know him, was always so taken with Eli's humility, menschlichkeit, dedication, and commitment.
All my children, my married daughter in Israel, Beradina, she was also very close with Eli Klein and whatever the yeshiva represented. And now we have that relationship also with Rabbi Falk. I'm more than happy to help wherever I can.
You know, every organization in LA would beg him to be an honoree, and one by one he would turn them down. And I think the fact that our family agreed to have him be an honoree at this Kerem B'Yavneh dinner really shows what a special place that he had in his heart for Kerem B'Yavneh.
What attracted Sam to Kerem B'Yavneh, and what attracted those of us who were graduates of Kerem B'Yavneh to Sam and to Bertie, was this common vision of building a people through building lives, through taking some of the sweetest, finest young men and nurturing them and developing them into those who would ultimately be the Jewish tomorrow. And till this day, the fruits of Sam's labor and the fruits of Bertie's labor, we are reaping the benefits.
Whatever my husband could do for the yeshiva, he did, and it was very appreciated, and we continue to help and do for the yeshiva whatever we can.
I remember many family trips, fond memories traveling with my grandfather to Israel, and him really imbuing a love of Eretz Yisrael, Medinat Yisrael, in all of his kids and his grandkids. And you can see that with how many children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren he has living in Israel today. And I think Kerem B'Yavneh really exemplifies the best of those values, and it's why my grandfather has been so committed to Kerem B'Yavneh for all those years.
As was the case in every facet of their lives, this personal mission was shared by his Eishes Chayil and partner of 60 years, my mother, Admea Ve'esrim Shana, Bertie Kreiger. They were soulmates in every sense of the word, working side by side and living every moment of life alongside one another.
It's basically impossible to talk about my grandfather without talking about my grandmother. His Eishes Chayil, his better half. They really had an amazing relationship, a beautiful marriage of decades and decades of love and commitment and support and mutual respect. And it was right there at his side for the ups and the downs and for everything.
I miss Mr. Kreiger. I know that the community and the yeshiva miss him, but at least we're very fortunate to still have Mrs. Kreiger with us.
It's a special, special thing for Yeshivat Kerem B'Yavneh to be remembering Sam this evening, and I hope that Bertie will be given many, many, many years to have nachas with her family.